You are listening to Smart Women's Dating Podcast, episode number 1. Yay! Welcome to Smart Women's Dating Podcast. I am your host, certified life coach laerkenielsen, and I help smart, independent women attract the love they deeply desire without having to chase or settle. This podcast will give you the mindset, tools, and insights you need to finally crack the code to your love life. Are you ready? Then let's go! Welcome to the very first episode of this podcast. I am so glad you are here. If you are a strong, independent, high-achieving woman who is good at making things happen and achieving a lot of what you set your mind to in your professional life, but who struggle to find your ideal partner and create the same kind of success in your love life, then this podcast is for you. I am your host, certified life coach laerkenielsen. I am myself a high achiever who used to struggle a lot with my dating and love life. And as you might be able to hear from my accent, I am Danish, but I've chosen to live in Paris, and that means I know what it's like to be dating in a foreign country, in a foreign language, and a foreign culture. And I also know what it's like to be single in your early 50s and wonder what's wrong with me since I can't seem to get this right. I worked on my beliefs and mindsets, and I studied masculine and feminine energy and committed to being true to my values and my authentic self while dating. And this has worked extremely well for me. I will of course share much more about my story in a future episode. In this very first episode, I just want to take a moment to let you know who I had in mind when I decided to create this podcast, so you can see if you recognize any of this from your own life. And then in the end, I will give you one tool that you can use already now to improve your dating life. But first, let me start by asking you, do you recognize some of these power qualities? You are smart and resourceful, and you know you can do almost anything you set your mind to. You like a challenge, you like to find solutions and to solve problems. You don't wait for things to happen in your life. Once you realize there's something you want, you just go out and create it. You don't easily give up when you have decided to go for something. You are capable of ignoring your needs and feelings in order to achieve a goal, and you know how to willpower your way through an obstacle. And as you are very independent, you don't often ask for help. You might even find it difficult to receive help if someone offers it to you. Now, these qualities have helped you achieve the things you wanted in life, and they have gotten you to where you are today. But when it comes to dating and relationships, you don't get results as easily. And the confidence and authority that you have in your professional life doesn't seem to translate into your love life. When you think of your abilities to attract a partner and create a loving relationship, you feel more insecure and you doubt yourself more than when you think of your abilities to create success in your career. Although you had several relationships and maybe even some longer term, none of it worked out in the end, and now you are single again, and you have that nagging feeling that you still haven't really cracked the code to your love life. You are back in the dating arena and you feel that you put a lot of effort and hard work into it, but without getting the results you want. And here are some of the things you might experience. You tend to attract emotionally unavailable men and men who are not as interested as you. They are not offering you much more than crumbs. They're not taking initiative to plan dates. They're not calling you. They just keep you waiting and constantly wanting more. And as a result of this, you often find yourself taking lead, being the one who is organizing the dates and texting him in between. You might not be happy with this, but it feels like you don't have much choice. Because if you do nothing, then nothing happens and you will never get a chance to get to know each other. You also believe that driving things forward with a man is part of being a modern woman, and when you don't get as much response as you would like to, you take pride in being a low-maintenance woman. You pretend that you don't need much attention or time from him. You tell yourself that he's just super busy and that's okay because so are you, and you don't want to come across as needy. And in the same way, you also don't want to be too emotional. You prefer to stay strong on the outside and not show him how you feel if you are sad or disappointed, even if it leads to you feeling disconnected and alone. And then at some point, you get tired of being on standby and you start asking him the questions about where he stands and what he sees in the future, which only makes him go even more cold. And this is where you decide to go all in and give it your all, so at least you can say you tried everything. But unfortunately, this typically doesn't help much. Sometimes you also experience that he just fizzles out or loses interest or maybe even ghosts you. And then on the other hand, we have the guys that are into you and who want your attention. And they invite you out and they text you and they do all the right things. But there's just this one little problem, and that is you don't find them very interesting. And you are not very attracted to them. So after 1 or 2 dates, you just let them go because you still don't feel the sparks and the chemistry. And you wonder what's wrong since you keep attracting men that you are not into. It gets you annoyed that there isn't this link. Taking it all together, it feels like there's literally no real possibilities left for you out there, and you start feeling very hopeless and have negative thoughts about yourself and your future love life. And this is where you might tell yourself that all the good ones are gone, that your standards are too high, which, by the way, you also hear from your friends that wonder why you're still single, that you have to settle or stay single, or that maybe you're just one of these women who were not meant to have a romantic relationship, that your life is about something else. And you might tell yourself that you're not even sure anymore that you want a committed relationship, although part of you knows that this isn't true, and trying to convince yourself of that is just you agreeing to another kind of settling, which is the settling to stay single. If this is you, if you recognize this, then you are in the right place listening to this podcast. Now, take a deep breath, because your love life is about to change. Let us just for a brief moment imagine what it is you really dream of, but that you might not even dare admit to yourself because you hardly believe is possible for you. You want to meet a man who is not only the perfect match for you in terms of personality, values, and life goals, but who is also deeply interested in you, who is kind, loving, generous with his time and attention, and who is of course himself interesting, has a great sense of humor, is intelligent, and can challenge and inspire you, and who has the courage to reach out and take the first initiative. A man who continues to show his interest in you, keeps showing up, wants to see you, asks you questions about you, what you like and what you don't like, your biggest dreams and fears, and what you think about everything in the world. In other words, he shows you that he wants to get to know you, and he remembers the things you tell him about yourself and your life. And he is also commitment ready. He wants the whole package. He prioritizes you in his life, and he's not afraid to make future plans with you. If you think this sounds unrealistic and like having too high expectations, that's a sign that your standards might not be high enough, and this could be one of the reasons you are not attracting the man you want. But it can also be a sign that you have never had a relationship with a man who is the perfect match and commitment ready at that level. And I want you to know that this is in no way out of reach for you. And what's also part of this is that you get to decide what kind of relationship you want. You do not have to go for a copy-paste of something you had in the past or what you've seen others have. You can create it exactly how you want it to be, based on what you want and what feels aligned to where you are in your life right now. Everything I just described is 100% possible for you when you show yourself authentically. Get clear on your intentions and commit to yourself and your dreams. Then you will attract a man who is all in on what makes you special and unique, and who is ready to invest emotionally in you. And honestly, you shouldn't settle for anything less if you are ready for that commitment. And here's what I know for a fact. It doesn't matter how many bad dates you had in how many years, or how many relationships you had that have now ended. and your age doesn't matter either. The only thing that matters is that you decide to do the inner work, to release the limiting beliefs and fears that block you from finding love. Connect with your true, authentic self and learn the dating skills that nobody taught you. This work will help you shift your vibe and change the way you date so you can have fun, feel empowered, and attract the loving relationship you desire without having to chase, work hard to get a man's attention, or settle with less than what you deserve. My intention with this podcast is to share mindset tools and strategies so that you can start dating in a way that feels aligned and authentic, true to who you are in your core when you are not trying to impress, pretend, or be what you think he wants you to be. I will teach you some simple energy shifts that will allow you to work less hard and create better results while you feel better. Yes, I know this is very counterintuitive, especially for high achievers. It's most likely the opposite of what you've been doing so far, but once you see how well it works, it will become second nature and you will never want to go back to dating the way you used to. You will learn how to practice radical self-love and embrace your authenticity, as this will take you almost half the way to attract your person. And I will teach you how to date with a discovery mindset where you learn and grow on a personal level on all of your dates, regardless of whether you find the man interesting or not. You get to learn something new about yourself and how you can connect with a man every time you go on a date. Like this, no date will ever feel like a waste of your time. These are just some examples of what I plan to talk about in the coming episodes, but I don't want to overwhelm you already in the first episode, so I'm going to give you just one tool that you can start using already today, as I promised in the beginning of the episode. So here we go. Imagine that I have the power to look into the future, and I can see that you will meet the man of your dreams within the next 3 months. He will be your perfect match, and you will both fall madly in love and have no doubts whatsoever. You both just know that this is right. I know for sure that you will meet him and that together you will create a committed and loving relationship, but I cannot tell you exactly when in the coming 3 months, and I also cannot tell you exactly where you will meet him. So knowing that, how will that change how you show up in your daily life? Would you feel different about going out? Would you be more open to connect with people? Would you smile more? Would you have more eye contact with men that you meet? Would you notice people around you in a different way? And how would it impact your decisions? Would you go to places you won't normally go to? Would you accept invitations that you might not have been interested in? Be open to go on a date even if you're not super attracted to begin with. And would you stop worrying about this man you had a date with 2 weeks ago and who never called you back? Imagine this scenario and try to immerse yourself into what it would be like to know with certainty that you will meet him. How does that feel? The whole idea with this exercise is to help you access the feeling of being open to possibility and at the same time unattached to a specific outcome. In other words, unattached to whether things will develop with one or the other person, because you know it will happen eventually. And the point is that it can happen anytime and anywhere. And as long as you keep showing up for your love life, keep putting yourself out there, keep meeting new people, connecting, believing that it's possible, and allowing yourself to be seen, it will happen for you. You will eventually attract love. But if you listen to this podcast, I promise you will get some tools and inspiration that help you shortcut your journey to love. This is what I had for you today, and I'm so glad you listened in on this, and I hope it resonated with you. And if you recognize some of what I was talking about today, you'll definitely want to come back and listen to future episodes. So make sure to subscribe so you get the episodes directly into the app where you normally listen to podcasts. I will be back soon with the next episode, and in the meantime, have fun and enjoy dating. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.